Hello, just looking along the hedgerow here at the moment. Come across this hawthorn, very common hedgerow shrub, especially in this part of the country. I grew up in the West Country. Down there we tend to call it the May tree, and in fact my gran used to say, cast not a clout until May is out. And clout is kind of an old Anglo-Saxon word. It means an item of clothing, specifically your coat. And what I used to think that meant was that you should keep your winter clothes on until the end of May. But what the saying actually means is that spring hasn't really arrived until the hawthorn, the May tree, is in flower, which it does, not surprisingly, in May. So it produces a white flower about that big, 5 petals on it. You can eat them in the spring. They taste of almond. You can also make a herbal tincture from them. So collect up the flowers, collect up the leaves, pack them into a kiln jar, top that up with 40% alcohol. So we use store brand vodka. Make sure there's no vegetation poking above the top of the liquid, and leave that in a dark cupboard for a couple of months. Strain it through a jelly bag, and clinical trials have shown that a couple of teaspoons a day can strengthen your heart muscles. Now, assuming we don't pick all the flowers, and that would be a good thing to do, what we get at this time of year are these berries. So these are called haws. These are, I would give these another week or so yet actually before we come back and collect them. They are edible. In fact, they contain an awful lot of vitamin C. You probably don't want to eat them raw like this. They're best processed, and typically what we would do with them is make ourselves a fruit leather. Collect the berries up once they're ripe, put them into a sieve, and then use the back of the spoon and just squash them basically, and all the pulp will drip out. Once you've collected up all the pulp, you can then either put it in a dehydrator, or what we tend to do, put a piece of parchment paper on a baking tray, pour it out so it's a couple of millimeters thick, and then pop that into the oven, lowest temperature setting, leave the door open a little bit, and you're looking at 8 to 10 hours, and it's going to turn into fruit leather. So think of something a bit like jerky, but made from these. Can't help but notice right next to us, of course, while we're at it, nice load of blackberries, all good to go.